TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, bring it higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week. Yes, Wednesday, 3 o'clock, not Thursday. A little travel day for Mr. Lou Finocchiaro. So we can't go a week without a live show, especially when they're in the Octagon in Edmonton, Alberta this weekend. So we got them 1 day in advance here for Fight Night Fortunes. Of course, shout out to the man behind the glass, Mr. Elijah Cox, making us look pretty back here. So thank you so much, Elijah, for all the work you do. Shout out to our proud sponsor and partnerships, WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It's free. Atlanta Steak and Seafood, Terry Smith. Introduce yourself to him at Facebook. Place an ad at Atlanta Steaks and Seafood. Promo code STEAKS10. STEAKS10 gets you $10% off, your full order at the window. And of course, Viva Tequila Seltzer. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. Go try one where you drink your adult beverages. Without further ado, the one and only Mr. Lou Finocchiaro.
Good
Morning,
afternoon,
sir.
Jeffrey. How you doing? Thanks for having me. We're marching through these UFC cards. Now we have 6 left in the calendar year of 2024. And then we'll turn a new page and start a new year. So let's plan on finishing strong.
Well, I got to start with a little baseball. We're in the middle of the Fall Classic here. Everyone brought their brooms. Everyone thought it was over. Lou, no one lived 2004 more than myself. I am 45 minutes from friendly Fenway Park here. And with the 3-0, my number said 6 games. Well, obviously, I was hoping maybe it's Dodgers in 6. Obviously, the Yankees couldn't win in 6. But the funny thing is, they just blunders, running mistakes. You could feel the pressure. And then Volpe, grand slam, 3-1. How's the World Series been treating you, Lou?
I absolutely love October, and I love to personally wager on the World Series. I'm usually in previous years much more active game to game. This year, I've been playing a few first 5 inning plays, but mostly when there were 8 teams left, it came to me slow, but it seemed like the Dodgers were the team. And so I took the Dodgers to win, but I took them instead of to win the World Series. I took them in exactas. So I took them over the Royals, the Tigers, the Indians, and the Yankees, each in different odds. So I'm set up in a really long position right now. Let's say at the beginning of the World Series, I was set up really long for the Dodgers to beat the Yankees. And so I came back, not to hedge, but to cover, crowd, and get a little bit greedy. I took the Yankees plus a game and a half in the series and paid a little juice to get it. because if it does go 6, if it could go 6, and then the Dodgers win, I'd win both bets. And to win one means to win the other, so I can't get really hurt by anything. So we'll see what happens.
I have a good friend and colleague that watches our show religiously from Montana. Shout out to Mr. RT himself. He was sitting in position if the Dodgers win this series to net around, let's say, $1,100. And it was almost like the gods came down when the Dodgers were up 3-0. They were minus 2,000 at shops to win the series. The Yankees were plus 1150. And listen, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. I know we love to have skin and sweat in the games. I was like, Mr. RT, if you went outside your front door and there was $1,000 in an envelope, would you bend down and pick it up? He goes, well, of course I would. I said, exactly. Do me a favor. Just put 100 on the Yankees at plus 1,100. You won. You won 1,000. You're $1,000 richer. Do you agree with that?
To take the Yankees in the series down 0-3?
Yeah.
Yeah, provided you have the other wager, then my response to that is that everybody has their style. Some people believe that you don't hedge or cover your bet at all, that you got the odds, don't give any away. Others, like me, will say that I use a future wager simply as a tool to ensure profitability, meaning if I got a 10-1, I'm going to flex it into a position where I'm win-win, and I'm taking money to the bank, not positive EV. I'm an old-time businessman, and so I make deposits with money, not EV. So that's how and anything in between. Some people will hedge a little bit, some will hedge all of it. That's up to the investor that's been wise enough to put himself in the position to hold the original ticket to make that call.
Aaron Rodgers, he's thrown 1 million Hail Marys. I bet you, do you remember where you were when Doug Flutie threw that Hail Mary in Miami? I remember where I was. I was in high school and we were going crazy. We were actually playing poker at a friend's house when Doug threw the Hail Mary. Was the Hail Mary from Jaden Daniels in the Washington game good, bad, or you just had no part in the NFL in that game on Sunday?
When I saw the Bear defensive back acting the fool like he was acting, and then to see what happened as a result, I couldn't be happier for not only the Skins, but also the Bears. I mean, what kind of clown show is that on a team that's been unable to get out of their own way for so long? Unfortunately for the Bears, there is a systemic, there is a ownership issue with the Bears, and until there's some form of evolution from the fine, upstanding, honorable people that are the McCaskies, they just don't have any business running a sports franchise. And Jerry Jones is the same thing. Those two entities are the same. Both have done great business by appreciating their asset, and the Bears are going to move out to the suburbs. They'll make it even more expensive. So as business people, they're adroit, but they don't know what they're doing running a football
team. UFC 308, early in the morning for you last Saturday. We had it a tad bit later. When all the dust settled, Mr. Topuria knocks out Max the Mouth Holloway and the little jab to Dana White, and he gets an additional $50,000. Thoughts on the card in general? And you've been talking about this gentleman here, and he seems to be rising up the ranks. And who's his next opponent?
Topuria, you mean?
Yes.
Well, it's really now it's gonna kind of be anybody who he wants it to be. More than likely Diego Lopez, who's next in line, but Alexander Volkanovski is the ex-champion who he lost the title to Topuria. More than likely those two will fight, and Topuria will face the winner of that fight. All three of those guys are razor blade savages, and those fights could go either way. But Topuria is really impressive. The way nobody has done that to Max ever, and so he's an impressive looking young kid, despite his mouth and his brash, his brash attitude. The dude's great. Now, as far as the card's concerned, 11-1 favorites. When it goes 11-1 favorites, and that's the way it's been going, favorites this year in the UFC are 68.5%, 5 percentage points higher than they usually are, and they're 62 or 63% usually. So when 11-1 favorites hit on a UFC card, chances are I lose a few units, and I did.
And we're waiting for that regression, as you said in the intro. 6 weeks left in 2024. We still have time, Lou. We still have time.
We do, and I'm not going to start chasing chalk now. That's not what I do. I'm going to try and remain selective and hit a couple underdogs like I always would do, and hopefully some regression comes. If it doesn't, I chalk this year up to an interesting one, but would believe that then regression would hit in 25. I'll be around to see it. We'll see.
UFC in Edmonton, 14 fights, only 5 fights at plus 170 or more. We had market. I listened to your Sneak Peek podcast on Monday, and it was kind of so interesting, and I obviously enjoyed this part of it, where you had 3 or 4 fights as pretty decent sized favorites once the fights hit the market, and then some big flip-flops in between, and now the underdog now has turned favorite in a few of those preliminary fights.
More than a few. You got a handful of chalk changes, which is interesting. And so that tells you that the openers were really weak, or that there's some reason the lines are switching. In each case, I try and assess each one individually, and most of them have some reason, and some that don't. I scratch my head. We'll watch the fight, see how it ends up.
I'm live on DraftKings, so I am going to pull up our first fight here. Jack Shore versus Youssef Zalal. Right now, Zalal minus 265, Mr. Shore plus 215, over 2.5 minus 280, under 2.5 plus 210, Lou.
Yeah, good fight. Small guys, big cage, big crowd. Zalal electric. This is his second UFC stint. Very athletic, fast as greased lightning. Shore coming in off a loss, but the loss to a guy like Joe Anderson Brito, there's no shame in that. Brito's a killer. Shore tends to show very well, and it's interesting. This no Canadians here. Zalal, Morocco, Shore, Wales. So they come to Canada to fight. Zalal will give Shore problems because Shore has problems with elite fighters, especially fast, quick ones. That's exactly what Zalal is. He's more well-rounded. I think he can compete with Shore on the ground. More importantly, he'll be a lot faster, and his footwork is more deft on the feet. And so Zalal is probably a rightful favorite here. And if anything, he would be used in a parlay piece with any of the next 2 that we'll talk about.
Okay, let me scroll down here. Come on, Mouse.
So we're going to go, I think you want to go to Zahabi and Munoz next.
Yes, currently right now, Zahabi minus 122, Munoz plus 102, over 2.5 minus 445, the under 2.5 plus 310 right now, Lou.
So over 2.5 in a 3-round fight minus 455. Okay, so they're giving us a big indication as to the fact that they think this goes to decision. Why? Because Zahabi has no power at all. He can't fight himself out of a wet paper bag. However, he's fast. He has good hands, just no power, a lot of quickness and volume, can wrestle up a storm. And each step of his career, he has been ascending. He is an ascending talent. On the other hand, Pedro Munoz is usually well older than his opponents. In this case, he's only 4 years older at 38 than is the 34-year-old Zahabi. Munoz has fought the best. He's a tiny, teeny little 135-pound T-Rex. Very short arm reach, good, very brutal leg kicks, tough as nails, and durable. So we're going to have a decision here. This fight opened and has really been a roller coaster. It opened Zahabi minus 155. And then on Monday, we could have gotten Zahabi at plus prices. It didn't last long. The Zahabi plus prices have gone away, and now there's money coming back to Zahabi, but he's at 120 or 125, still better than the minus 155 he opened. And so for the youth advantage, the more well-rounded, I think you got an interesting prospect in Zahabi at minus 122 here, just because he's younger and I've seen the improvement along the way. I think he's in a good position in this fight. Let me say one more thing, if I may. In this fight, it's Brazil, Canada, and Zahabi is a Canadian. His brother owns TriStar Gym in, I want to say, Toronto, and he is fighting out of his brother's gym. So he'll have the crowd in a tight decision. And oh, by the way, this is 2.5 over 400 and something. A tight decision could go your kid's way. Munoz is going to have to paint his doggone fence in order to win a decision in Canada over the Canadian.
In Edmonton, Alberta, as we say, the co-main event, Erin Blanchfield versus Thug Rose. Currently, Blanchfield minus 130. You can get Thug Rose at plus 110. Over 4.5 now, minus 270, Lou. Under 4.5, plus 200.
This is about Rose's third or fourth fight at 125. She was the 115-pound champion, so she moves up. She's looked good against the larger ladies. She hasn't looked spectacular. Rose is now towards the end of her career. I don't want to say towards the end. She's only 32, but she's had a long career. And she's found these 125ers, the strawweight ladies, and she's fought killers, more durable and tough to put away. She had an easier time with the smaller ladies, as you might understand. Now we get Blanchfield, who fought one time at 135, fighting at 25. And she's 7 years younger at 25 years old. And even though she's a little shorter, she's much more stockier. Rose is long and angular, and Blanchfield is short and compact. And it really cost her in her last fight a loss where she got her fence painted. She was dominated, and she's a very class top 3 athlete in this division. And so she enters off of the bounce. She opened minus 200 in this fight. And so now you're looking at her, she's minus 130, and that's because people know what Rose has done, and they also saw Blanchfield lay an egg in her last fight. I think you're getting an opportunity to buy Blanchfield at a really opportune price, and that's where I would lead listeners, and I wouldn't wait around. I'd take it.
And you talked about Rose and her career. And each fighter is independently different. And now we're talking about a smaller female fighter here. This will be her 21st fight. I know everyone's different, but there's no certain number of fights. It's just based upon either the beating or the beatings that you have. She's at 32 years now. Do you think, she's got a couple of years left and maybe get closer to 25, 26 fights?
Yeah, Rose can fight as long as she wants. She's earned that, and she's capable. She's a top 10 athlete already in this division, but this Blanchfield's a top 3, and if she doesn't beat Namajunas, then she isn't really a top, I'll say 6, because she just lost to the number 1 ranked Marion Firo, and that knocked her down a few notches. But I love a world-class athlete coming back off a loss. That's what we have here, and she's the more legitimate 125er. And by that I mean weight-wise, body structure-wise. It's Rose that's moving up now because of her age, and those cuts down to 115 kill her.
Main event, Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. Right now, Moreno minus 175, Albazi plus 145, over 4.5, minus 230, Lou, and get the under 4.5 at plus 175.
Yeah, again, they're telling you this is going to be a decision. And why not? Large cage, 125-pound men. It's like two flies in a barrel where, you've got highly skilled athletic guys, each one of them. They're quick and fast. Each guy skilled, both very well-rounded. Moreno, the first Mexican champion for the UFC. And he needed a rest because he hasn't fought since February. He needed to calm it down, have a margarita, spend time with his family, refresh his mind. But the guy is legit top 3 in the division still. Albazi has been taking stepping stones against journeymen to get here. His last fight, that was a split decision win over Kai Kara France. If you go to MMA decisions, out of like 21 press people at the fight, 19 scored it for Kara France. I did too. So I'm not saying Albazi was gifted, but I'm saying Albazi's the beneficiary of a win against Kara France that I don't think was really a win. And Moreno finished Kara France. So even though that MMA math may not always work, we got the taller guy, we got the guy with more experience. In Albazi, you probably got the hungrier guy, you got the faster guy. Should be a great fight. There has to be a prop somewhere on this one, more than likely. Maybe Moreno decision. If you like Albazi, maybe you go Albazi decision. They've told us 4.5 rounds with the over 200 that it's probably going to decision. So you may have to do your own work depending who you like. But I think Moreno is a world class, and he still has the fight in him. I really like him off of the layoff.
Next week, UFC back at the Apex, the smaller octagon, the less crowd, of course, there. The scroller's been going the whole time. Obviously, go follow you on Twitter or X at Gamblu. Mondays, your sneak peek podcast. Fridays, Bout Business podcast after the weigh-ins. But as I always end here, Lou, give us where they can find your website, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Gamblu.com is the webpage. There you can find all the sports that I work. On the top right corner, there's a tab called San Xavier Mission. We route our profits to the San Xavier, not 100%. We route a portion of our gross profits to the San Xavier Mission, which is the oldest mission in the United States and in Tucson. It's south of here a couple hours. And I'm being a longtime Arizonan, it's dear to my heart. So thank you so much for letting me share that. Gamblu.com. You can find all the information about me and the San Xavier Mission there. Thank you.
And then before I let you go, 2 weeks from now, Madison Square Garden, if I'm not correct, Dana White's going to be a happy camper. His favorite, his all-time Mr. Jones, is fighting.
I don't think Jones is just Dana White's all-time favorite, and I don't know about favorite. I think Dana White just is astute enough to know who the all-time GOAT is. I happen to agree with him on that opinion.
Well, I'm taking a look at some prices, Lou. It's not cheap to just get into MSG, but I'm keeping it a close eye on there. I did tiptoe up to a fight a handful of years ago, and I saw the upset when Ruiz won and shocked the world against Joshua. And I might just have to tiptoe up there. I don't know, but if I do, I don't know. I'll have to pick your brain about that. How's that?
Yeah, because you have to know where to sit at a UFC fight. You don't want to be behind a stanchion or one of the cameramen, and you have to know where they are. And most events, being down close to the event is good, but looking up at the cage isn't so ideal. You can't see the far corners of it. You want to be elevated in between those stanchion poles, and you got to know where the TV arms are. So you have to understand the situation, and they're all the same arena. The UFC sets it up the same, so I can surely help you where to sit.
All right, Lou. Safe travels. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next Thursday at 3 o'clock. How's that?
Back to the regular day. Good luck, everybody, and thanks so much, Jeff.
Thank you, Lou. Elijah, quick commercial break, and then we'll wrap it up. Lou Finocchiaro, go follow him at GamLou. You can catch him on VSiN with Mitch and Paulie, and on occasion some other outlets as well. No closing bell tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. Paul Stone will be here to break down some college. And currently at 5 o'clock, Ron Marmolevsky will be back live from LA talking some NFL and some college football as well. Again, a shout out to the man behind the glass, Mr. Elijah Clarks. Everyone else watching and listening, thank you. If you haven't already, do us a small favor. Ring the bell. Head on over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. Turn on your notifications. Never miss a show. Come on back to EC Sports Invest and follow us there as well. Again, everyone, have a great day. World Series, 8:05 first pitch. Will Freddie Freeman make it 7 straight games with a homer? Put some pizza and beer money on it just in case. Have a day, people. We will see you soon.